Welcome. Welcome to the joint meeting. This is the very first time we welcome the media to the meeting for the first time since the COVID. And we don't have any petitioning anymore. But I think we have to look after ourselves in order to avoid any transmission. Welcome. Before we get started, I'd like to welcome Rebecca, DMS, Ms. Anna Zhang, ACP, SQ, CSP, CNIIB, Ms. Monica Ao-Yang, and also the police team. Welcome to join us. We have new members joining us. Let me introduce them. Mr. CM Chan, Ms. Cindy Hui, Professor Lam Fong, Dr. Desmond Yuen, who is otherwise engaged today, Mr. Si Wing Han, there are 3 members who've sent in apologies, Mr. Liman Ban, Ms. Randy Yu, and also Dr. Desmond Yuen. They have sent in their apologies. The last meeting was held on the 29th of December. If members don't have any proposed amendments to the minutes, shall we take the minutes as read? Well, item 2, presentation on digital policing. I'd like to invite the police to brief us on this item, please. Members, in order to deal with the digital issues, we are moving on to digital policing. We have with us Mr. Lam Chong and Kelvin, who will be briefing us on the Hong Kong Police's digital policing. Thank you, Madam Chair. The world over, it is undergoing digital transformation, and there are new trends. We have to move on with times, and we want to provide the best possible services to the members of the public. Since 2019, digital policing has become part of important elements of the policing work. I'm going to spend a couple of minutes taking you through digital policing.
與時並進，數碼警政自2019年首次成為警隊策略方針之一。面對黑暴同埋疫情嘅挑戰，警隊努力不懈，構建一系列數碼基建，包括光纖網絡、Hong Kong P WiFi 同埋一人一手機。同時，亦推出超過30個全新嘅數碼工具同埋平台，例如 Bit App、iCheck、報失2同埋網上牌照申請服務等等。日後警隊會加強應用數碼科技，提供創新警政服務，令市民更方便同埋容易接觸警隊嘅服務。
In terms of digital policing, it encompasses the entire police force. And let me cite an example. And this is the command center, all the way through to the police motorcycle, or the events that are happening up the hill. Our criminal investigation officers also resort to digital policing. Even cases that are going to the court, we have to consider how best we can optimize the system to facilitate our work. For uniformed police officers or criminal investigation teams, they have more than 30 different apps. Now, if we find any suspects on the street, we would stop him for ID check, and through the airwaves, we would get the answer that this is not a good, desirable situation in the digital world. In a safe environment, we would be in a position to ascertain the identity of the person. Take the CID, for instance. If he is conducting investigation, then he can use the eye check. Obviously, in the process, we would be able to save quite a bit of time. And this is a simple example that I can cite, that by harnessing technology, we can improve the entire process and deliver better services. Since we don't have to keep the members of the public on the street for so long, we don't have to shout out the sensitive information. And not only are we able to enhance the quality of services, we can also avoid unnecessary complaints. There are the internal examples, but in the interest of time, I spare you all the many details. Also, in the digital policing, there are 4 main objectives. The first one is to harness technology to enhance the services delivered to the public. So from the point of crimes being reported, we are expediting the processes. The second objective is there are many internal processes that based on the law, and we are adopting the digital measure, and we have to streamline a lot of the complicated procedures. And through this streamlining, we can deliver the most effective services to the public. And third, the crimes that are committed are in many different forms. It is very much a challenge for us to investigate the crimes, so it is a very much important objective to enhance the digital access. And people are changing the way of work, and in the police, we have been nurturing our digital workforce to tie in with the situation.
Particularly in forensic and also investigation, so that we can improve our professionalism. Just now we talk about, in the short period of 2 to 3 years, we have actually develop a series of solutions, digital solutions. And I would just like to cite 2 examples for you. Recently, you might have heard or in the media that the pandemic has changed a lot of living style. And many people like to go hiking or go to the sea to enjoy themselves in holidays. But it curtailed a lot of danger. For instance, heat and then wind, etc. It might cause some accidents. So we see that, compared to years before the pandemic, that accidents happened in the mountains and on the sea have increased by 370%. So in recent years, we speedily work out most of the examples or solutions I've described are developed locally, and then we are trying to actually map out the ecology. This ecology change the emergency units in executing its work, and you have seen that this is the peak, and starting from the reporting to the police. When they report the case to the police, we always ask them where they are and what kind of help they need. Right now, that we can make use of the mobile, that is very accurate, and then calling the 999, and we already actually can identify its location. We have also developed the e-map. And with this e-map, we can use the same map, and then we can sweep the location, and then where we have search and where there's still waiting to be searched, etc. So we don't need actually sound communication, but we can use this mobile device to enhance our communication. And then the other app is Hong Kong SOS. It's an extension of 999. Before, in our experience, that when they call 999, sometimes it's not they themselves who call, it's actually the family who calls. So we don't even know who calls. But this app to provide the caller the location, and then secondly, if they have some emergency situation, then the 999 call station would know that whether they need the rescue. Well, we know that every second counts, and then so with this ecology, with local application and innovation, that is quite unique here. And before the end of this year, we hope that we can develop some technology to develop some e-device that would cover the mountainous area and as well as the ocean area. And then it applies to not only the emergency units, but all units who are engaged in emergency rescue. That will include a very good map, and then we will change the way we rescue people in danger. Well, they are new, and we have also undertaken check on these devices. And then right now that the fire services, the aviation department, etc., and they can all make use of these apps. Just now, I've talked about 999 call center, and then the one of the major challenges that if that individual is hurt, and then he might be in a state of panic. He might not be able to identify his location. He just will say, help, help, help. So we needed to calm him down so that he can identify his location. And now that we have developed an AML, is Advanced Mobile Location. So that once a call at 999, then they will calculate its very accurate location. Well, no matter what kind of mobile he's using, that we can still receive this information. This is a kind of setting, so it's quite standard, and it is a blessing because this year we already can make use of AML. But there still is some limitation. We can only make use of it in iOS. We are now talking with Android and to see whether that we can use AML in Android settings. We see that many times people who are in danger are using Android, and AML is an international standard. So even when you are indoor within a distance of 5 meters, it can accurately identify your location, and so that we can dispatch the emergency team as quickly as possible. In Hong Kong, we are already ready. 999, we can actually make use of AML service through whatever system they are using. So we are totally ready for it. And then the caller doesn't need to do anything. It is automatic. As the other development that we have, I want to report to you is that the change of lifestyle. You can see that there is an exponential increase reporting to our police station. And then compared to pre-pandemic situation, there's an increase of 56.7%. You can see that the page is quite different on screen. And we have been continuously working on it, optimizing the e-report center. We always ask ourselves, can the citizen not coming to the station and report, and then they can check also the progress, who are working on it, etc. So we are working on that. The other is that, as you know, when people just come to the police station and queue up for the report, half of them are reporting loss. There is about 47%. And because of that, we have developed a self-service kiosk, and it is you can find it in many police stations. It is very simple and easy to use, and they can do it all by themselves. And we have observed that nearly half of them choose to use a self-service kiosk. Just now I visited the Wan Chai station, and then I see that many people are using this. And the handling time is just like 4 minutes on the average. Quite popular. And right now that we have already used 12 of these kiosks and in major police stations. We hope that with this really good service, and maybe we could expand and then extend it to some busy locations like MTR. At that time, if there's people find they discover that they have lost something, they can actually immediately report it at the kiosk at MTR without going to the police station. Well, all along, the police force have been providing the first-class policing. And with the change in the society, that we have developed digital policing to increase our service through innovative paradigm and thought to provide the convenient, effective, and more quality services. Thank you. Thank you, Superintendent. Any questions and comments? Jimmy? I would like to ask, you talk about the automatic location service, or even the device is not on, can we identify it? AML service is an international SOS service. You are right. It is emergency rescue. as long as you call it 999 or other numbers in other location, then as long as there is power and then there's a SIM card, then the message will be sent. So to assume that the caller is injured, and so that they cannot actually talk or communicate this, and then there is a safety device. I don't know whether they've heard about the crash detection. They can even know whether that is a crash, a car crash, or that the life is in danger. But anyway, that through the same channel that you can receive really a lot of information through a mobile with its AI logarithm. They can generate this kind of message. They don't need actually to turn it on. Any question? Mabel, thanks, Chair. HKSOS. I believe that is a very convenient and friendly. Before, I have attempted to help people to call 999. The service is already very good. I believe that with this app, that it will be even better. I just want to ask, with the iOS, can make use of this AML. Android as yet to be available. Is there any version that is actually applicable to this? I just want to know AML or HKSOS with these apps, if it's not open, will it be tracked and then people will know your location? I think that people would know about, are concerned about privacy issues. Thank you for your question. I first respond to AML issue. AML is a European standard and then beat the higher standard on privacy. And then in any European country, this service needed to be there, and then has expanded to other places. Hong Kong is more advanced, and so that we are one of the first to adopt this AML service. And then I can see that in the future it will be a compulsory service. It has already passed the frequency test. It is irreversible. As long as a call 999, it will generate this. Well, the people who designed it, this is a European standard. They have done this based on the accumulation of their experience, and then they have actually strike the balance between emergency need and privacy. Well, in the world, and then if you call 999, the emergency call, and then they barely, very rarely can actually identify where they are. So this is to solve that problem. We don't have any privacy concern or privacy issue, and we have no control because it does not relate to the police force. It is an international standard. And HKSOS is a security by design. We are actually, doing it according to this standard. Different acts in the market, whether that they are doing hiking or not, it helps them to track the data in case there is any accident, that they can always be located. Well, different from SOS is that we are directly linked to a 999 call station. Just for example, the previous cases that the caller are not the person concerned. It might be the family, the wives, etc. Well, in those cases, if there is there's no HKSOS, we will not know the location, and then so that sometimes if they are safe after that they have made the report, they can kill the app. And then, we have some policy that after a few days we will erase all data. So we will not keep this data. They are just for life-saving purpose. So in terms of privacy, we have strike a balance. This is event-based app. We will not keep those data for a long period of time, and it is well, if they, for instance, if I'm doing hiking from Sai Kung to Nam Se Jim, and then I start from up here, Wang Sek Ma Tau, and then they will also input that who is the emergency contact, and then with all this data, we will initiate this rescue. And then after that event, we will delete the information.
Let me supplement. I understand that members are very interested in HKSOS app, but there is no way you can download that for the time being. And at the right time, we will be making available these HKSOS. Now, we have invited Mohammed here. We anticipate that this is going to be very interesting to the public, so we will let you know about it, but you cannot download it quite yet. Thank you, madam. There will be a lot of testing that will be undertaken before the launch, and we hope that this will be launched within this year. Second, with this app, there are certain places up the hill or in the sea that don't have any signals. But with this app, if you trigger that, then there would be a lot of other devices like vessels, the helicopters, that even in absence of any signal, we can still identify or locate the person. And this is something that we didn't used to be able to do. And this is something that we developed locally. Clement Daniel Mui. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you very much, Senior Superintendent Mohammed. Now, with digital policing, as you said, you are evolving with the times. This is very much a trend. I'm not talking in particular about any app, but in general, there is a policy that police officers cannot engage in policing work using their own mobile phones. There will be some digital tools or aids that will help the force to take advantage of IT to engage in policing work. In the near future, this restriction on individual officers using their own devices might be compromised. This might compromise the use of technology in the policing work. Right, thank you very much for your good question. For private mobile phones, we do impose restrictions. We do have guidelines there. Now we're talking about 30 or so models, and this is security by design. And the police officers will have their own devices. There are a lot of security issues of personal data involved. So there must be some security protocol regarding the mobile phones. They have to be very secure. So these are not personal mobile phones of the police officers, so we allow them to use these solutions. So let me cite an example. I mentioned the HKSOS app. This is for the public as well as for the rescuers. The information can't be fed into personal mobile phones. In case the phone has been stolen, how can you wipe out the information? This is our concern. So this is some security by design. This is international standard. The world over, the law enforcement agencies would adopt similar protocol regarding the security. Thank you, Mohammed. Mohammed addressed the key part of the question. Clement has been a member for some time. You probably heard that we issued mobile phones to the officers. We decided in 2015 that under the e-policing, digital policing policy, we issued the mobile phones to individual officers. Each officer would be issued with a police mobile phone, which will be a security by design, and they will measure up to the security protocol, and this can be an iPad, a mobile phone, and I can assure members that over the past couple of years, with the introduction of this policy, the frontline police officers are equipped with a police tablet for their day-to-day work. And this is being implemented. All the frontline officers, including the CID officers. So I can let members know that well over 20,000 devices have been issued to our officers for the day-to-day work. And that's why, like Calvin said, there are 30 or so apps that will be carried by these mobile devices in order to implement the digital policing. Thank you, DMS. Any supplement? No? Daniel? Thank you, Madam Chair. Question for Senior Superintendent Mohammed. The SOS app. This is a simpler question. For those who have installed the SOS, if they want to communicate with the police, this app would only enable communication between the person and the police and not any other members, right? And also AML, this is more complicated. It was said a moment ago that in an emergency situation, in a rescue situation, it would be very effective to locate the person. But it would give rise to another problem. Anybody who calls 999 will be worried that if they make the call, then they will have the location detected. And for some reason, some people might call the police for some reason, and there are so many 999 calls coming in on a daily basis. Is there a likelihood that people would be deterred from calling 999 because they don't really want to reveal their location? So are you going to be logging the location of the caller? And if they lock the location, how long will you be keeping the log for, and how are you going to deal with it? Right, let me take the first question first. Thank you very much for the question about the HK SOS. The feature is that other than the person himself, the feature of the app is that you can fill in the emergency contact. You can have 1, 2, or 3 contacts, and there is a mechanism there by design. Obviously, the emergency contact will also receive the information. If there is no response, then let's say Mohammed has attended the event and he's safe, and if you just make a phone call, then you know that he is okay, but the emergency contact can trigger the SOS, and this will also be routed back to the command center. If somebody has passed out, for instance, the emergency contact can trigger the entire process, and the command center would know that Mohammed has tracked to the mountain top, and there will be signals issued, whether it be the police or the fire services or whatever. The second question about AML, whether people would be worried about the AML, the location being revealed and not called the 999. Now, 999 is an emergency service. It's only when there is an emergency that people will call it. If there is an emergency, you call 999. Whether it is fire or events in the sea or events in the hill, at the moment, there would be a display of the caller ID at the present moment. The only difference is right now you will have to locate the caller, but this is a very slow process. It would take quite a bit of time, and you have to work out the distances of the cell towers, and this is not a good use of the technology. As you know, there was a case a couple of years ago for discussion. This is a digital government, a smart government. This is a smart city. I think we have to use the best possible technology. The members of the public are really very advanced in the use of technology. So I can assure members, and I can assure the members of the public that this would be very helpful in the rescue operation, and this is an important application. And we hope that this will be applicable to all the mobile phones instead of just a few. When we did the examiners, many people said that if this is only compatible with iOS, they will be buying the iOS phones for their parents. There are many cases that mishap might happen in the countryside, and people simply can't locate themselves. When it comes to rescue, we do need the data. We need to have instant information. This is something that we have to recognize. Thank you, Mohammed. Well, I think we have to be strict with the time before I call upon Mr. Chan. The point that was made is that now there may be informants who call 999. They don't really want to reveal their identity at all. I think this is the point that Mr. Chan is trying to get across. It's not about saving lives. With crimes, people call 999. Like Mr. Chen said, they don't really want to reveal their identity. So this is not about life saving. There may be some transactions that there might be someone who would like to help, but he has to protect his own identity. Now, like we saw in the movie, the police would tell people to call the police in a safe situation. You probably don't have enough time to address this. Madam Chair, I'd like to turn to the self-service kiosk. I think in most cases, people lose their ID card and they get the report slip and go to the immigration department for a replacement. Now, people get the slip for the lost ID, and if he is stopped by the police for ID check, doesn't mean that all the police officers would be in a position to access the information that he has lost his ID. And second, would this be linked up with the immigration department? Let's say someone has reported loss of the card, there will be a record. Now, with the report loss document, it would be already a formal document, but with a slip like this, it may not be a formal document. So will the immigration department and other police officers be able to get access to the information that you have reported the card lost?
So maybe I would reply first. You're correct. For the self-service kiosk, once it's registered, we will create a case number. Anything related to the case will be stored, including the lost memo. And the whole system will have those. And then it's by security by design system. And then this is always restricted to this system alone. And then the immigration system will pop up that this is a system securities design issue. Chair, I would like to ask that the e-government required lesser manual work process. So that if law allows, then I think that we should consider the next step, how we can actually make it more convenient for the public. TMS, do you want to supplement? Yeah, noted. Yes, Chair. Yeah, many aspects and features in the digital policing linked. So please be rested assured that it is not automatic. Well, maybe that we still need to just how to link it together, particularly in areas that it will provide more convenience to the public. I would like to add something related to lost memo. Do we need to have one system, linkages between different systems, or that we need to print it out? I think that we need to consider different means to send it to the informant, and so that they can actually show it to other departments. But your concern is noted. We want to know that if all losses need to get the loss memo from the police first. But for us, I don't think that it is necessary. That police should be the first stop. And for the informant AML case, the 999 call center is the same as before, but AML will speed it up. In the past, I think that the informant will have similar concern. This is the point I would like to make. And then if the police will want to investigate, it's the same. AML just make the process automatic. Any other question? We already have a big time concern because of technical problem. So we all know that we need to embrace the digital world, right? Oh, Grace. I would like to ask Mohammed. I'm really a hiker myself, particularly under the pandemic. There are a lot of beautiful places. Most of them are located near the border, and some have reception from the mainland. And then which number would you advise us to call in case we want to contact the police? And then well, if I need to actually call 112, and then what is the process then? Oh, this is a deep level the technical issue. AML is a hot topic globally. It's talk about emergency service, how to the trans area. For instance, in the EU, some countries have already talk about how to exchange the numbers. We just started the AML journey in Hong Kong. I think that in the future, even the information will receive across cross boundary, that maybe we can do that. I think that we need to settle with that standard, whether that we are using AML roaming or not. What I would like to just say is that once you trigger AML, 999 call center receive that, whether that you have signal, this ecosystem, as long as you have this app, will be able to locate where you are. That means that I don't need to call 112, right? I don't know which number I should call. What I say is that once you trigger the app, it will always come back to the 999 call center. That means that whichever I call, right? Yeah, the app is SOS. Once you trigger SOS, that we will receive that information. Sorry. Well, on behalf of Jane, the question is, if the mobile provider is for outside of the provider's area of service, then which number we should call. And I think that we need to wait until the optimization complete, and then they cannot answer that. And the second question is that the 999 call center, or maybe the caller goes to another continent, whether that the 999 call center will still receive that message. And I think that the police says that if you are not within the coverage of Hong Kong provider, then, and you are far away, then it might not be able to cover it. Maybe a few years later, but at the moment, apparently it is not. That means that your physical location exceed a certain line, then that is a question whether 999 will cover. Is it correct? I think you are completely correct, Chair. 999 use the Hong Kong service provider, so it will work only within its coverage. That's why when you are near the border, that you might already in connection with some mainland provider. I cannot say it on behalf of all providers. For what I understand the situation is that the providers are trying their best, and then they are trying to set up some facilities to provide the service of Hong Kong users to make use of their service, but for some specific location. Maybe we can talk about that after the meeting, so that when you are doing your hiking, you feel safe and happy. Of course, that we always are concerned your safety. And because of time concern, sorry, Daniel. It's related to this question. For our mobile phone, I think that there is the number is 114 that can be used globally. Is it still effective? Mohammed, do you know? If not, have you ever heard about that? I need to update it. 114 is not under SOS. I think that the ones we have the mobile phone in the international level, that you can call 114 in any place around the world. I don't think that it's this number. There should be another number. Is it still effective, available in Hong Kong? I think that you are talking about 112, not 114. So we stop here. Thank you for Daniel's question. It shows that that IPCC is really rich in the different areas of experience. Your question is valid, but today our colleagues and not working in the communication unit. So to ensure Jane's safety and to give you the correct answer to your question, I will check it with my colleagues and then we will provide you the information. And today we have media here, and then they also would be concerned about all this information. So I will hand those information to IPCC. Thank you, DMS. And I would like to say that we are really excited and encouraged to hear that you are doing a lot of digital solution to fight the crime and also to protect the life. So we have a lot of questions, and then I would also invite one or two questions, very quick questions, and of course, the person that I'm also interested in, I also could imagine that if someone will get the number and then just playing naughty, and then will call and then make an SOS, then well, this is really just something fantasy. And then a quick question. Well, thank you for your explanation. My impression is that I think digital policing actually make use of drones for investigation, AI also to investigation in investigation. Is it also direction for the Hong Kong police? As I mentioned before, the first is about drones, and back to the rescued PPT. You can see that we have drones there. You can see that in rescue, we can make use of the drone to locate the caller. And then HKSOS, this is called Rescue AI. This is a patented technology working together, partnering with PolyU, where once we identify laws, we will use AI based on the location, weather, terrain, and then to tell the rescuer where to find the caller. Other than rescue, have you considered drone in other policing? Thank you for your question. The police force, of course, would like to make sure that the society is in order and then that people are safe. You are talking about details of our action. I cannot publicly tell you those details, just as what Mohammed said. In times of rescue, it's not just the police department. Other teams will be using all kinds of the latest technology to save life. This I can reassure you. Thank you. Thank you, DMS. And in view of time, the matters for information is the third item. Is the CAPO's monthly statistic is attachment 3, and then also attachment 4 on the criminal and disciplinary checklist. Well, we would like to talk about the reportable numbers in the year 2022. We receive 1,187 cases. In the 2022, there is the 104 cases of serious complaint at 8%, and minor complaints are 1,183, 92%. In the first 2 months of the 2023, we received the 280 reportable complaints compared to 2022 first 2 months. There's an increase of the 73%, and then 99 cases more than the 2021. The increase is because since 2022, that the government has actually lifted the measures, prevention measures, and therefore the complaint cases have gradually increased. In the first the 2 months, most of them are the minor complaints, and there are 260. And while they the light green is the neglect of duty, 148, misconduct, 107 cases, and the pale blue is offensive language, 7 cases. The rest are the serious complaints, that is assault and the misuse of authorities.
And compared with the previous year, 148 for neglect of duty, 47 up on 101. Misconduct and politeness, 107, up by 42 on 65. Assault, 12, up by 7. Offensive language, 7. UUOA, 6 for the first 2 months. There are no fabrication of evidence or threat. 2023, for the first 2 months, the reportable complaints, a total of 208, light green, 88 cases have been withdrawn by the complainant. Yellow, 54 cases are IR, informal resolution. Gray, 38 cases of not pursuable. Blue represents 9 cases of unsubstantiated. Purple, SOTR, and red, substantiated, 6 each. There are 4 cases of no fault and 3 cases of false complaints. So much for the trend. Thank you, Joe. Yes, Vice Chair Yik, please, very quickly. Joe, you explained that for the first 2 months of this year, we have seen an increase. In 21-22, there is a sharp contrast. I think that was during the COVID period. You have already explained that. Compared with 2018-2019, how do we compare? With Hong Kong back to normal, are we witnessing an upsurge in complaints? We don't have the numbers with us now. In 2018, the numbers similar to those in 2018. We can supplement the information. Daniel, we haven't received Q1 report yet. My question is, do we have any information as to what types of complaints are obviously trending up? Other than the categorization, are there any particular complaints? Mostly minor complaints. So these are the complaints arising from the law enforcement, like the stop and search, traffic law enforcement. We see an upsurge there. So there is no trend that can be established and that would make us worried about the trend of complaints. No. Thank you very much. So this is a sign of recovery. As you walk down the street, there is traffic congestion and there are more people and there is no restriction whatsoever. We had the school closed and post offices closed, and with more people on the street, you understand what the situation is like. Joe, you haven't quite finished, have you? You done? Right. Equivalent disciplinary checklist. Yes, about the checklist. All the details are set out in the appendix. I've got nothing to add. Right, any questions from around the table? No? Item 3 is over. Let's turn to number 4, AOB. We don't have any AOB items. Next meeting is scheduled for the 20th of June, 2023, on Tuesday. Best of health. Thank you very much for coming.
Media friends, today is the first media conference in 2023, and then this is the first time we meet when Hong Kong is fully returned to normal. With the development of the society, the police is facing diverse challenges, and then in order to increase its knowledge and then catch up with time, and the police has adopted new technology to improve its service. Just now you've heard about the digital policing, and first it's about the rescue devices, and second is AML, so that the police can accurately locate callers, and also the self-service kiosks for non-emergency reporting. And the CAPO also, the IPCC also will suggest the service quality initiatives to CAPO, including video cams to make important informations, and also the other devices in terms of traffic control, and the different kinds of ticketing, so that we can enhance the law enforcement activity of the police, and to minimize unnecessary complaints. We see that the police force have followed up all this suggestion, and then flexibly make use of new technology in their daily work. We hope that IPCC, with the new technology and new facilities, can enhance the quality of their work, and then also to provide a better service to the public. Earlier on, I have visited with members the Ngau Tau Kok police station, and then observe the self-service kiosks, how it helps to facilitate the services. And then also about the different items that will help the police to combat illegal activities. The new technologies are hardwares. They will help the police in their work, but the police work, in fact, put a lot of is involved people. So, well, there are different work in the police. One is to combat the crimes, and the other is how to work with people. So there are different skills that is needed and engaged. The police have been working with different departments to protect life, to help relieve the pressure of the medical service system. And I think that most people recognize, and then I'm grateful to the contribution of the police. I know that the police have strengthened the training to enhance their ability in engaging with the public, and so that they can reduce complaint. In the latest newsletter of IPCC, there are special features talking about the frontline police officers, and how and why they are more prone to complaints. And given that IPCC and CAPO have suggested SQII to increase their skills and to enhance the quality of police services. And at the same time, the police force, through different channels to communicate the police work to the public. Now, I would like to pass the mic to Clement Chan, PCC, to introduce the feature in the newsletter. And after that, Daniel, the General Secretary, will describe the SQII work of IPCC. Thank you, Chair. Media friends, as what the Chairman said, the frontline police are facing different challenges every day in executing their responsibility. They are prone to complaints because of the different nature of activity that they are handling. So I will focus on a few situations and the complaints. The first case, it's in fact, it's triggered by the domestic dispute case. And then the police get to the location, and then the third complainant is a couple complain of being assaulted by their domestic helper. So and then as the police saw the bruises on their body, and then the complainant later on said that the police arrest them without the reason. And the complainant said that they expected the police to explain about the cultural difference, and then to mitigate the dispute. And then the complainant did not expect that the police will arrest the husband. And IPCC sees that the police have tried to understand the situation and then identified the different bruises on the body of both the couple, and the arrest is reasonable because it will prevent that the assault will continue, and in fact that the expectation that it will mediate the conflict between the spouse is not reasonable. And other than that, in case of commercial dispute, it will also they will also be prone to complaints. And the cases like that, then because of loans, and then there's a dispute, and the case was being reported to the police. The police arrived at the site, and the complainant said, and then that an agreement was reached with the supplier. And at the same time, that the supplier have waived 600 Hong Kong outstanding balance, but there is no criminal element in the case. So the police decided to classify it as a dispute and left. But the complainant says that the supplier did not give honor the waiver, and then they have filed the case to the small claimed a court, and then and the police report that at that time that in the notebook there is no record on the waiver. So the complainant lost the case. So after the case, the complainant alleged that the police has violated duty. And then in handling this case, the police will not intervene with the negotiation of the two parties. Even if they have reached an agreement, the police have no responsibility in taking note of all their agreement. And IPCC decided that the police has already clearly recorded down their situation, and there is no fault found in this case. But sometimes when they handle the case that they receive from both parties, and the complainant A and B, they are not in good relations, and then one day A and B quarrel, and A report to the police was saying that B threatened A, and according to the statement that the police arrest B because that is a kind of threat. And after investigation, the police found that there is not enough evidence, so no charge was being made on B. But A is not satisfied with the way the police handle the case, and then A already filed a case, and then accusing B of criminal threats. But based on the B's allegation, IPCC thinks that A and the weakness. So the police has arrested B with reasonable basis. And although there is no criminal litigation, but the arrest is reasonable. And finally, the B withdrew the complaint. You can see that because of the confrontational relationship of A and B, and the police will be in a dilemma. And then in some cases, other than handling different kinds of disputes, the police in different circumstances that have to handle and then different situations, particularly about the traffic dispute. And that is in case 4. And then the complainant park his cars because of there's some problem, and then he was being issued a ticket of illegal parking. And then he complained, saying that the police did not give him a chance to explain. But soon, that the complainant said that while he complained, he was just because of being agitated, and then he wanted to withdraw this complaint. The CAPO reviewed CCTV and discovered that the complainant at that time have left immediately after parking the car, and then it lasts for 1 hour and a half before he returned. And then this evidence, in fact, of proving that the complainant's complaint is fault. So the complainant is not happy about the ticket, and then he made the complaint because he was angry with the police and fabricate evidence, and then made the complaint. And because of that, and the CAPO and IPCC will handle the case, and then issue a warning letter to the complainant.
The IPCC has to reiterate that the members of the public might have the right to lodge complaints, but they should have the civic-mindedness and lodge a proper complaint if they have complaints, and should not abuse the complaint system. From the cases that are cited, when the police are enforcing the law, people might have misunderstanding. They may pin unreasonable expectation on the police, and they may be complaining in the fit of a peak. So in order to minimize these unnecessary complaints, the IPCC has made some SQII recommendations. I hand you across to the SG Daniel, who would be going into further detail about the SQII recommendations. SG. Thanks very much, PCC Chair Clement. PCC Chair shared with you the 4 cases. They are typical cases involving the frontline officers when they're enforcing the law, like some of them involve the traffic offense enforcement. There are 7 cases in the bulletin today, but in the interest of time, we've highlighted the first 4 for your information. Between 21 and 22, the IPCC endorsed 374 complaints, and they involve the frontline officers handling complaints. Of these 374 cases, well over half of them involve domestic disputes or commercial disputes. Like Cameron said a moment ago, there was a case of commercial dispute and another case of family dispute. They take up well over half of the total. When the police officers issue the tickets, and that it is liable to give rise to complaints. In 21-22, there are 520 allegations relating to traffic offense enforcement. Of these, 1/3, or more than 180, involve frontline police officers issuing tickets to the offending vehicles. If you know the situation, the police officers handle a lot of traffic offenses, and the ticketing offenses take up 1/3 of the overall scheme of things, and this is disproportionate to the total. But the nature of the police work means that they're liable to attract complaints in law enforcement. In dealing with the situations, in particular disputes, the soft skills on the part of the police would be terribly important. Like the chair of the IPCC said, when the frontline officers are enforcing the law, they are there to protect the members of the public when they're dealing with disputes. Behind their tough exterior, they must have a bit of soft skills. So when we scrutinize the complaints, we have already made some recommendations to the CAPO that when dealing with disputes, the frontline officers should be equipped with better skills. Like we've reminded the frontline officers to be flexible in dealing with disputes. And second, the frontline officers should be dealing with the disputes in a professional manner, and there should be more guidelines that there should be issued to the officers for them to deal with the disputes in a more professional manner, and that would minimize the complaints. And the communication skills would also matter a great deal. These kind of skills would enable the members of the public to know that the police are playing a particular role in dealing with the complaints, and people would understand what role the police officers are playing, and this will minimize misunderstanding, or this will also minimize the unreasonable expectation. There are some who would expect the police to help in a particular way because of their duty. They are exercising their duty, and there are some constraints there. We are pleased to see that the police are following up on these proactively. We have seen a number of things in the police college. When the officers are under training, they have the unit showing you how to deal with disputes, and different scenarios are involved. In the police school, they use specific simulated examples, and they will have a role play to let the trainees understand how to deal with the complaints. Also, they are using technology. They have the 360 cinema that will reenact the real-life cases for the officers to understand by the use of technology how the situation was like. They feel as if they were actually in the situation, and the coach would guide them through all these procedures. Other than the training at the police school, they also have the EQ training. When officers are dealing with the disputes, normally the emotions are running high. They're afraid emotions, and they will have to handle their own emotions as well as the emotions of the members of the public. So the EQ training would play an important role. So upon completion of the training, the police districts would have liaison with the police school, and every single year there would be refresher training for the police officers for them to be equipped with the knowledge as to how they should handle the disputes, and their abilities to handle complaints would be enhanced. CAPO, in the light of the complaints, would have outreach programs for the police districts to give their input about the real-life cases as to how best they should handle the complaints. And the management of the police will also have an e-platform to disseminate the information and let the officers know what attitude they should have. I think they have to be empathetic when they're dealing with the complaints or disputes. There are a couple of principles that they should bear in mind. The first one is when they turn up at the scene, they should really de-escalate the situation. They should split up the parties involved and let them calm down. And second, the most important thing is there should not be any judgment that would be passed to give rise to any perception of bias or unfairness. So when they have discussion, where possible, they should assist both parties to communicate instead of stepping in and helping them to reach any particular agreement. Another point which is important is that when they're dealing with the disputes, they should not forget about their status as police officers. And if there is any offense that has been committed, they will have to handle them. And this is a very important point. And they will have to enter all the details in the logbook. And there was a case shared by the PCC chair about a dispute over the $100, and we saw that there were specific details entered into the logbook as to how they deal with the $600. He didn't enter that because both parties reached an agreement themselves. It's only that one of the parties failed to get the $600 that he blamed the police officers for not entering the $600 agreement into the logbook. As a matter of fact, he should have written out the $600 in the agreement with the other party himself. And also the police have stepped up the publicity for the members of the public to clearly get across the message that there should be certain role or certain duties that the frontline officers would have to fulfill in dealing with complaints, so people would have a better understanding what the officers are supposed to be doing. And that would avoid any unreasonable expectations pinned on the police officers. So through these SQII recommendations, we can enhance the efficiency and the capabilities on the part of the police in handling these disputes, and they can handle the disputes in a more professional manner. So much I have to say. I welcome questions. Please raise your hand and identify the organizations you represent. Ming Pao Daily, 3 questions, if I may. First of all, last week there was a reporter from Ming Pao filming the Stand News trial, and there was a police officer, and there was some abusive language being used. And how will the IPCC be dealing with this? How will you be dealing with the cases involving the national security? After the shooting on Peng Chau, it was said that the details would be disclosed, and what are the considerations, and are you going to be divulging the chapters and verse regarding these shootout? The complaint cases we have seen upsurged by 60%. It was said a moment ago that there are more interactions between the police and the members of the public. Do you think this is a valid explanation? Well, let me address 2 of the questions first. The last one was the complaint numbers. This was asked many times. Now we're talking about the previous year, because this year it's not over yet. We haven't quite got the entire numbers, so we're comparing with the previous years. And it is a practice in all the private companies as well. Now, there were questions about the fluctuation in the numbers. Now, we had the COVID situation. Typically, we've seen the COVID besetting us for 3 years. At its worst, there was nothing in the supermarket, and the children were taken away from schools, and there was no mail delivery, and the airport had 0 business. There were so many problems. Luckily, we are emerging out of the COVID. The complaints arising from the police action, this must be arising from the interaction between the police and the public. And the people didn't go out, and there was very little in the way of interaction, and there were less traffic offences.
If you still remember, 2 years back, when people asked me why the numbers decrease, is because they did not get out from their homes. Right now, why it increases? Well, it's because the people actually get to the street and then take off their masks, and I think that it's just become the same as a situation before the pandemic. And you can see that, the police have used a lot of new technology, for instance, digital devices. And then there are camera in the car. And then since there will be, evidence, and more evidence to show the situations where the law is being violated. So the society is different. We make use of the technology. And the police also receive, compared to 10 years and 20 years back, have higher education with higher education level. So we have recorded 3,000 more complaints some years back, but before the pandemic, we see there's a decrease of complaints even before the pandemic. I don't know whether it's good or not. In ICAC in the 70s, when we first introduced the anti-corruption law, there are a lot of cases recorded. And then, before 1994, we still have the police from Britain. And then there are the extraditions, etc. So time changes, and people have improved their behavior. And then I answer your third question. And the first question is cases related to national security within the scope of IPCC. Well, I think that we have the two-tier complaint system, the CAPO and IPCC. So if any case goes to CAPO, then IPCC as the second tier will handle those cases, no matter what kind of complaint it is. It will be handled by the two-tier system. Thank you. The second question is about Mr. Chan. I will let Mr. Chan to answer your question. Well, your question is, I once said the police use force and arms, and then what are the regulations concerning this? And of course, the questions originate from a real case. And I think that the ordinance are quite clear. And then, if the police can use the minimum force to settle the case, that is the best scenario. But it all depends on the judgment of the police. Well, at that particular circumstances, if the police judge that it will affect its life situation, I think that this is at the discretion of the police to decide. This is a principle only. And if the police use the arms, then I think that they will need to judge in those circumstances what is the minimum force they should deploy to settle and to handle the case. I'd agree with the police ordinance, the principle of the ordinance. I think that this is what I would like to clarify. And if you ask whether that it is appropriate to use force, this is not hard science, and I think that this is a principle and a matter of judgment. Okay. I see that your question concerned the activities outside of the court. You asking our opinion. I cannot just answer because of your statement. And we need to actually handle the case based on the evidence. We need to read the testimony and then explanation and evidence from the complainant and also from CAPO. Well, this case that you just described is out of my reasonable judgment. And then I also asked CAPO about the case, whether there are trends that we need to take note of. I think that only CAPO has the first-hand information. For us, we don't have. It's only after the investigation that we will receive those reports. They also said that this is not a really serious trend. We guess that at the end of last year, we did not observe that there is any complaint that is more outstanding, or that we should pay more attention at the conduct of a police force. Thank you. I just want to ask the question relating to the reporter of Ming Pao. Have you ever seen the video clip, and then have you received any complaint? And then in the past, we also see that the FOO complaints when the police use offensive language, and then you will receive and handle those cases. And then ultimately, of course, that you have issued some reprimand, and then there are the remaining 26 cases that are in subjudiciary situation, and then you will not review it. Everyone knows that, because they are sub judice, and then we cannot, cross this red line. No one can. And then particularly the media reports, it is being regulated by the common law. But if the court is in subjudiciary, then I think that you are already clear. The 26 cases that we have, we don't have any updates, but then we will report to you in appropriate time. But in subjudice, under the common law, we cannot cross the line, neither of us. And about the case, I do not have knowledge of this case. Our responsibility is to handle complaints. Sometimes we just see bits and pieces of some issues without having a full picture of that. And then if we make a judgment because of that, then I don't think it's fair. If the complaint goes to CAPO, they will categorize it whether that is reportable or not, and then if so, that they will start the investigation. And with collaboration and cooperation with the complainant, then that investigation will start. I think that it is the responsibility of the complainant to tell the details, informations and evidence, and then CAPO will handle the case. And after that, we will review it and to see whether that we agree with the way they handle it. Right now, we don't even know whether there's complaint on this particular case. And then if there is a complaint, and if there is information relating to it, that CAPO can conduct the investigation. And then if there is thorough investigation, and then IPCC will look at the investigation and how they handle it. And I don't think that it's fair for us to do that right now without all this being done. I just want to add that we have not been informed whether there is a complaint. I think the chair has already explained it very clearly that a complaint needs to be filed, and then we need to see what is the complaint. Until this moment, we have not been informed about the complaint. And there are 26 cases. I should correct it. It is 27 cases, and because of subjudice at the moment, and 21 cases are still in process, and then the 6 already completed, and then CAPO are now writing the report. And before in FOO, there are a total of 168 complaints. Since last time we report to you in the press con, there is no update that I could offer this time. First of all, I would like to follow up on the Ming Pao's case, and then the third offensive language used by the police. I just want to know that whether that you will proactively investigate the case, or that you will wait until CAPO's investigation. And the second is about the 6,000 cases on FOO related cases. Will IPCC follow up on this? And there are related complaints that because of the investigation is not complete, that you cannot follow up. I would like to answer the second question first. Well, whether that they will be sued is not the decision of the police. And then, what we handle are the complaints only. Whether that, they will be sued, litigation will be launched, then it is the jurisdiction of DOJ. And then, so this is DOJ's area of responsibility to file a litigation or not. So it is not our jurisdiction. And then the second is whether that we will proactively ask the situation on the Ming Pao case. I would just want to say that we will duly carry out our responsibility. For instance, it's just like the court, and then whether that they're murderer or other kinds of crimes, that the court will only handle this if a criminal is being arrested, and then the litigation is being established, and the court will handle that. So similarly, IPCC will only handle the case if there is a complaint filed to CAPO, and then the police, CAPO will do the investigation, and then we will duly review those cases. So I would just urge you to make the complaint. And now that all the memories and then the evidence is still fresh, so please do that. Please also offer information, and then also provide evidence, so that the police can investigate and then complete the report for IPCC. After that, IPCC will follow up. Without that, no complaints will be established, no investigation, and then we cannot work on those complaints.
Any further questions? Mr. Chen, at the beginning of the year, you said that IPCC would discuss about the code regarding the use of force. Has the discussion started, and what is the police's position? We liaised with the police. After that particular incident, we did discuss over the code as to whether it is an item on the agenda. It is not. At the moment, they have the code as to whether there would be any discussion going forward. And this is not a subject for today. Perhaps the SG might wish to supplement. Right, let the SG supplement. The police are aware of the aspirations as to whether we should disclose the code. It would be up to the police having regard to their own policing consideration. But I must say that the world over, the police will not disclose every single detail about the code governing the use of force. This is all a matter of principle. There may be some scenarios for which the police facing the situation have to take the decision having regard to the particular situation that they are facing. So operationally, they do have their own considerations. But I must emphasize that if you look around the world, the police would not be disclosing every single minute detail about their operational code. Unless you have further questions, thank you all very much for coming. Thank you.
Thank you for coming 祝大家身體健。
Best of health. Thank you for coming.